Good morning and welcome to Rose Red Homestead, where we focus on food security, emergency preparedness, and self-reliance. And today we're going to focus on food security. We are going to be doing a big batch of chicken broth, and we will most likely be using a couple of canners to get it all done. I go through chicken broth like crazy, and I'm always having to do another batch, another batch, another batch. And so this time I'm going to do a great big batch, and you can see that I'm going to be using my turkey roaster to cook the broth, and it's going to be simmering for several hours today. It takes a long time for this to heat up. We'll bring it to a simmer, and then we're just going to let it go for several hours. We have 4 rotisserie chickens that we bought at Costco, one of the best buys on the planet. And we took all of the meat off and put it in packets out in our freezer to help support our level 1 60 days of meals program that we're working on. So here are the bones, the skin, everything that is related to it, including some of the gelatinous material. And I will be rinsing these out with hot water and putting the water back in. So what we have in here so far are the chicken bones and skin and leavings, along with the water that I put in from the 4 cartons. Plus, I put 2 gallons of water in to begin with so that the chicken would not be falling on a dry bottom surface. I don't want anything sticking, and so I think now everything will be just fine. Now, I have right here a board that has 3 different vegetables on it, the onions, the carrots, and the celery. These are the aromatics that I use to flavor broth. And I cut the onions in half and I leave the skins on because they also give some flavor. And then I'm just going to rough chop these carrots. Now, I don't put unpeeled vegetables in anything that I'm doing. After I learned how hard it is to remove botulism spores from peelings, a test that was done by the USDA showed, especially with tomatoes, that spores really stick to skins even after washing. And with the celery, I love to include leaves. And so I'm just rough chopping this celery with the leaves and putting it in. Now, with all of that in there, and 8 quarts of water, plus whatever was in the bottom of those cartons, I'm now going to add another gallon. So this is 3 gallons of water. So I'm thinking that we'll probably have at least 12 quarts, maybe more. We'll see. Then the last thing that I'm going to put in is some vinegar. The purpose of vinegar, this acid, is to soften the bones and help them release the flavor that is from the bones. It will make the bones soften, it will release the flavor. So I'm going to put in about, that's about 3/4, half to 3/4 of a cup. It's on as high as it can go. We'll come back periodically and check it, but for now, we're just going to let it sit. And it probably will be a 5 or a 6 hour process. We'll see how it goes. But we'll come back at least once or twice to check it in progress, and then we will bottle it up and get the canning going. So we will see you soon. This has been going for about an hour and a half. It was having a good rolling boil. I just turned it down. Let's take a look at it. So I now moved it down to where it is a simmer. I think it's coming along just great. So I'm going to put the cover back on, let it continue simmering, and we will probably be at least another 3 hours. So we will see you then. Well, we are back. It has been 6 hours, not because it necessarily needed 6 hours, but we were so busy doing other things, we just postponed it, and so it has been 6 hours. But that is just fine with broth. It has developed a full and deep, delicious flavor. I've added a little bit of salt. I've taste tested it several times along the way, and here it is. I'm going to unplug it. And I am going to scoop all of the leavings right into a large bowl that I have right here. So it will take a few minutes to do that, and we will come back when we are ready to fill the jars. Well, I fished a lot out, this much, but I didn't get it all, and I am not going to lift this heavy pan up and strain it. That's just beyond the job description. It is beyond my job description. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to strain it as I put it in the jar. I have this little strainer that just happens to fit perfectly inside my funnel. And I have this measuring cup that I'm just going to dip in, and it's a great one for pouring right into the jars. And it can drip in the pan while I pour. We leave 1 inch head space. Then I'm going to put a little bit of vinegar. This is our homemade vinegar, fallen apple vinegar. The reason that we use vinegar, and we only use vinegar when there is oil or grease present, because it cuts the grease. Then I'm going to put a lid on, put it finger tight. We're going to be using 2 canners. I have space for 7 in my large canner outside, and I have space for 4 right here in the NESCO. So I'm going to fill the NESCO first, and then we will start filling the Presto, and we will bring you back. I'm going to get this one started right now as soon as I do 4. So we'll do that on camera, and then we'll finish up out there as I'm putting the last one in, and we'll get that canner started. We will be processing these for 25 minutes. At our elevation, we need 13 psi, and we're at 5,000 feet. So we keep it between 13 and 15. So I'm going to go ahead and load this canner, and I'll bring you back when we're ready to start it. The NESCO is so easy. I just close the lid, lock it. And because of our elevation, I have the green. There's also a black weighted, it is a pressure regulator, but the green is for our elevation. I leave it in the up position so that it can vent. It will go through 10-minute venting. Then I come in and drop it so that now it closes the steam inside, and then it heats up to the proper pressure and begins the timing. And so here we go. We're going to push high, then we're going to set it for 25 minutes. And we start, and that's it. We're done, except for when I come in and just drop this pressure regulator. Now I'm going to get the jars ready to go out into the outside canner, and we will take you out there with us when I'm putting the last jars in that canner. Putting the last 3 in the canner. Your booklet will tell you how much water belongs in your particular brand of canner. For us, we start with about 2 inches, between 2 and 3 inches. The water should never, ever come up more, never over the top. And just as a rule of thumb, when all of the jars are in, it should be below half coming up on the jars. So this is about right at half. And so the next step for us, and it has been on low, okay, so what happens now is we're going to turn it up to medium, kick it up, and we are going to let it vent steam. It takes a few minutes for it to vent so that it is a steady stream of steam just shooting out here. I can hear it as well as see it. And then when it has done that for 10 minutes, that means that it has vacated all of the air from inside the canner. You don't want any air in there. We want the air to be replaced by steam. And that's what the venting process does. When we have done that, then we will put the weight on right there over the vent. And at that point in time, it will start building pressure up to 13, and we hold it between 13 and 15 for 25 minutes. When it is done, we turn the heat off and walk away. We let it cool down on its own. It's a lovely winter day. It's about 50 degrees out here right now. It will probably cool down faster out here than the NESCO will in the house. So we will be back when we're ready to pull these jars out of both canners. It only took about 5 minutes for it to get up to this point. With the sun behind shining through, you can really see what the steam looks like. So this is what a good venting stream of steam should look like. So in 10 minutes, then we'll put the weight on and it will start building. So we will see you when we're ready to take these out. It's dark outside, and so we took these out of the canner and just brought them straight in the house. They're just barely out of the canner. They sat in the canner about 10 minutes after the pressure was down to 0. There was absolutely no siphoning, and some of them have popped already. Now, this one has been sitting for about 10 minutes, maybe even 15 minutes. It's always our troublemaker. If you have seen some of our videos where we had some projectile siphoning, you'll know that this is the canner that usually does that. So we're going to be exercising great caution as I just release this lid and try to listen to it to see if there's going to be any of that kind of siphoning. So if you heard that, come on up close, Jim. Let's see if we can get this. Even though it's been sitting for quite a while and I haven't even opened the lid, I heard a little bit. I just started to crack it somewhat.
Definitely have heat coming out.
Yeah, there's steam coming out for sure.
I think you're okay.
Woo! We had some seals there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't trust it.
Let's just leave it there for a while.
Now what's happening, it's sealing and unsealing because more steam is escaping. And then it seals, but then more steam escapes and it pops again because it's still boiling. So we are having a symphony going on there. I can see this one popping up and down.
Back, yeah, on the right.
And that's fine, it doesn't hurt anything because ultimately it is going to seal and hold, but right now it's still super boiling. So I'm going to put the lid back down. I want to leave it a little bit open. And we'll be back in about 5 more minutes, so let those calm down a little bit before we take them out. Things have calmed down a lot. We still are getting some waffling. I've put a heat glove on just in case there's any of that explosive siphoning. I think we're beyond that point, but just to be sure. I'm actually glad that this is happening, this back and forth, because if you've never seen that before, or if it's never happened to you before, it could be a little bit disconcerting. And why it does it with this canner, I still have not figured out why this canner has a more difficult time with broth. because my Presto did it perfectly. There was no problem there at all. There was some siphoning here, not a lot, but you can see this one is down just a little bit. This one is down just a little bit, but nothing like when we had that explosive siphoning in a previous video. So this is our result. We have 11 quarts of broth. I'm thrilled with that. And we had 3 pints left over, and I am in the process of freezing these. So these will be added to our freezer as part of our 60 days of meals. I love having, this is a pint each. And so we got a total of 12 quarts and 1 pint. So that's not a bad haul at all for a big batch of broth. So I'm going to leave these all night long. They can just sit here in the kitchen and cool down and behave themselves. And then tomorrow I will wash the 4 that came out here. The ones that came out of the Presto are really clean. There was no siphoning. So we'll get them washed up and labeled on the top and out in our food storage area. So I'm so pleased to have this much broth. It might last me a couple of months. So I'm thrilled with that. And thanks for coming along. It's quite an adventure to do something in a great big batch like that and then have 2 canners going at the same time. But we did it and we were successful. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you again very soon.